Hey gang, Rob here, talking about my week 3 submission for Weekly Beats. Excuse me, I got sick this week, so a little gross. But yeah, I want to talk about week 3. Um, so had a good run this week. Definitely have a track that I wish I could have spent more time with, but between getting sick and other things, just kind of had to call it. But yeah, so again, the way this is going to work, I'm going to talk about what my goals for the week were, as well as the reference song I used for this track. I'll show what I did. I'll show the track itself, and then I'll show what I learned in the process of making this track and trying to achieve my goal. So, part one, goals and reference song. So the goal for this week is I really wanted to learn how to use my M8. This is the M8. It is a handheld tracker, Dirtywave M8. I know a lot of people in this community use it. It came over from the M8 community, but what I wanted to do was figure out how to sync this up to Reaper to my DAW, and basically have it be a dedicated synth. I want to stop using Reason. I want to move away from that and just have a dedicated synth. I'll talk more about getting into that. Spoiler, I didn't end up using it for the track, but that was the goal. And then my reference song is a song called oh gosh, what's it called? I have it in my notes here. I left you a message, or I left a message for you, by the band Sadness Again. Same band from last week, but in this track they do a cool thing where it's mostly a minor key track, and then they do the relative major near the end. So it sounds like the song gets really happy. Excuse me. So yeah, I wanted to do something like that. So that was my reference. Yeah, and that's my reference song and my goals. So let's move into what I did. So this is again a heavier track like my week 1 submission. Week 2 is a little bit more ambient. You can hear, I'll just start at the beginning a little bit. I'm not going to play the whole track. So yeah, you can hear it's a heavier track, much like week 1. Pretty similar chords. This main part is literally a B add 2 chord. It's basically a bar chord, but you take that high note, move it up 2 steps, or excuse me, a step. You move it up, yeah, and then a A7 chord. They just sound nice and big. It's cool that that first chord is literally a B chord in E standard, but it sounds so big. There's just some distortion. It's really great stuff. Yeah, and then I do a lighter verse. The verse, it's okay. It really didn't come together the way I wanted it to. I wish I had more time. Here's what that sounds like. Again, I wanted to pull back vocals. They have a lot of reverb, but I don't think I really like that. But yeah, it's okay. I added a guitar part for the second one. I kind of like kind of a delay swell, which is pretty nice. Then I do the shift to major right there. Capo on third. I think it ends up technically being G major, but I thought I was in B minor, so that doesn't really work. It would be D major if I was going to the relative major, I think. And then pretty straightforward pop punk outro, which is kind of my bread and butter, but still using these similar chords. These are like, I'm playing all the open strings with the capo on third. So it's like a power chord, a 7th, and then another 7th. Yeah, drums again, sequenced. I'm using the synth from, or the sampled LSDJ samples from Reason. I know I wanted to use M8, but I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute here. And then obviously vocals. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, bass was done with Reason 2. I took apart my bass because I have a new pickup that I've been meaning to put in it, and it's still in pieces. So that's the track. Let's move on to what I learned. So I mentioned I wanted to use the M8, right? And so physical device. So, I have this plug that comes with it, plug it into MIDI. I have this USB to MIDI. So I've got this years ago when I was using like an Arduino boy. So, plug into your computer and then you have an out and an in. Since I'm sending MIDI to the M8, I would use the out. And what you need to do, and this is what I learned along the way and I didn't think of, is you need one track where you write the MIDI information, right? Just like my drum track here, right? Here's my my drum MIDI information, right? So you need one of these that's getting sent to the M8, but then you need a separate track to capture the audio. I typically use a dedicated track. I typically call it Scratch, and that's like my record track, right? I record everything in there and then I move it. I might stop that workflow. I don't know if that's the best workflow, but that is typically how I do it. So I could either record it in there or I could give it its own track. But basically you need 2 tracks to do this, as far as I understand the workflow, which was kind of a little bit of a struggle. It made checking the sound design of the synth I was using in M8 a little tricky. Sometimes it wouldn't play back when I was looping. I might have had my settings in M8 a little janky, but who knows? So yeah, the workflow wasn't great. I'm still going to explore. I'm still going to try some new things, but yeah, ultimately I ended up using the Reason stuff just because it was a little quicker. The other thing I learned is switching over to major. Initially, I didn't have a capo on. I just had open E standard, but then I noticed that doing this shift here, it just didn't sound right when I started strumming the open chords. And I'm like, oh, I need to capo this, play the same chords, but then I get the advantage of having the open strings be in key. It's funny, it's the first time I've used a capo in that way. Typically, I'm just like, oh, I want to move this. I want to put the capo here to sing in this range. But this is the first time where like, oh, I want open strings, but I want them to be in key. Let me use the capo, which is funny because I think that's the typical way people use a capo. What else did I learn? The M8. I think that's mostly it. I really struggled with the vocals on this one. I like the outro vocals because it's pop punk, but again, that's kind of like my bread and butter. So yeah, I think that's it for this one. Pretty fun track though, but again, I wish I had more time with this one. Everything that started to get good about this was because I like iterated and tried new things. And I wish I just had more time with this, but unfortunately between getting sick and everything else, ran out of time. I'm taking week 4 off. That is not because I'm not having fun. It's because I'm feeling a great flow and I want to protect that flow. I don't want to burn myself out. So I'm going to take week 4 off and I'll be back for week 5. So yeah, best of luck with the submissions for week 3 and 4. I'll be checking out week 4 regardless, leaving some comments. But I'll be back on week 5 to actually do a track. And little sneak peek, I want to learn Reaper's effects a little bit better. Actually, let me say that. I did learn how to use Reaper's auto-tune a little bit better, and it helped me out on some of this. Where is it? Reattune? Yeah, right here. I learned how to actually manually correct some vocal parts, which is like, this was so confusing looking, but I watched a video and it helped. So I recommend checking that out. It's pretty easy. You can also just do the auto tune. But yeah, I want to learn a little bit more about Reaper's effects. Its effects are so like this. This is a synth, right? We're used to like something that looks like an actual synth, not this kind of like Windows 95 thing. But that's kind of Reaper's charm. but I want to learn that a little bit better. I got to learn some proper rendering and exporting settings. I feel like my volumes are always a little low. I want to learn some tips and tricks about vocal melodies. And eventually I want to start editing these videos. These are just one long chunk right now, but I want to edit them down so they're a little bit more consumable, digestible. But let's wrap this there. Thanks for your time, guys. Again, best of luck with week 3 and week 4. I'll see you back in week 5.